we got another big story. Joe unearthed it. I'm looking forward to talking about it. And you know what? If nothing else, it keeps Avatar relevant. Would you have thought, this is a serious question. I know I don't want to take the reins from you. I just want to ask you this, okay, before we get into this. Did you think, if you would have heard back after you saw Avatar, because I know you saw Avatar in theaters. I know you did. Back when you saw Avatar in theaters,
I was the only people who didn't like Avatar.
Really?
I didn't like it that much.
Would you have believed, if told in 2009 that almost 10 years later we still do not have one sequel? Would you have believed that?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't have either. I mean, this has been.
I'm shocked how long this has been taking.
And you got to think, James,
it's not like I'm excited to go back to the world of Pandora because I found it to be a fascinating world. But it's like, all right, man, if you take any longer on this, I'm just not going to care anymore.
I think a lot of people haven't. I mean, and the other thing is, too, let's be honest. James Cameron, 63, ain't the youngest guy in the world either.
Yeah.
And he's projecting to make these Avatar sequels that go to 2025. I mean, that's 8 years from now, 7 years from now? He's going to be in his 70s.
It's funny that, like, the sequel to this is taking longer, almost about 10 years longer now. Like, when's Avatar 2 reported to come out?
Avatar 2 is reported now to come out 2020.
2020.
So we still got 2 more years. Yeah.
11 years ever since the first one. And it's funny to think, like, when Avatar 2 comes out, then Avatar 3, then Avatar 4, then Avatar 5, it's like they'll be right out of the gates one after another. But there was this 11-year gap between the others.
And it's got a budget now, they're saying, because Avatar 3 they're supposed to follow one after another. Every movie's got a production budget of almost $300 million.
Okay.
So, oh my God. Well, anyway, go on. It's like the longest, prelude to the story that we have here. Get to the meat. Get to the nutcracker,
James Cameron made a claim that superhero movies are getting played out, and of course he's making this claim the week before Infinity War comes out.
Yes.
I wonder why.
Of course.
And he compares the Avatar sequels to the Godfather. Now that second part of the headline sounds like he's gonna make the Avatar sequels as good as the Godfather, but when we discussed about the article, it's not that at all. Actually, it's a whole different thing he's saying, which is pretty sad. But basically, James Cameron, hard at work on his series of sequels, 2009 sci-fi blockbuster Avatar, says the era of superhero movies should be coming to an end with Avengers Infinity War opening in theaters later this week. And it's like, it ain't going to end there. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You really think to yourself, like, after the amount of money that just Black Panther made and the amount of money this is going to make, do you really think it's going to end there?
I don't think so. No, not at all. You know what's interesting is one of the reasons I was reading right now, excuse me, one of the main reasons that Avatar 2 has taken so long, because it was supposed to come out in 2014. That was when it was originally projected.
Yeah.
But because they added 2 more sequels, they also had to develop new technology in order to have motion capture scenes underwater.
Yeah.
They need to develop new technology, and that's never been captured before. So that led to even more delays, rewrites, and visual effects, and different planning and stuff. So that's what's kept this sequel held up so much. But one of the main things too, James Cameron coming out and saying this, whether or not he actually believes it, James Cameron too. At a point, he's got to do everything he can to try to keep this series relevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try to remind people of this, because Scott Mendelson, I hate to keep, bringing him up, but I mean, he's just so eloquent in some of the stuff he says. I love what he said he wrote a big article about Avatar a couple years ago, and he said it best. He said, Avatar is the highest grossing film in history that left no cultural impact or footprint whatsoever.
Yeah.
It left nothing. Like, you nowadays, Avatar is a technological footnote for movies. It is the highest grossing movie. But, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to tell. Hey, go up to somebody, ask him, what was the name of Zoe Saldana or Sam Worthington's character in the movie? You probably couldn't even name that.
Yeah, I'm silent right now because I don't
For the record, it was Neytiri, was Zoe Saldana.
Isn't it Jake Sully?
Jake Sully.
Okay.
Jake Sully for Sam Worthington. Yes. I remember Jake Sully. I didn't remember Zoe Saldana. But that's the thing. You got this extended universe, and it's one of those things where it's like I don't think you have enough. I'm going to say this. I don't think they're going to make it to 5. I really don't. I think this will be lucky to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
I really do. I think if they make this a trilogy, they consider themselves lucky.
A second one at this point.
Yeah, really.
But
I was gonna say I would be surprised if this thing got past 3.
Yeah.
Because you got to think. I was just saying these budgets are in excess of $300 million. The marketing they're gonna funnel into these movies. This movie has to make like what Batman versus Superman made, like $800 million to break even.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money for something that's been irrelevant for several years.
And he's saying all this while promoting his new documentary series on AMC called AMC Visionaires, James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction, where he's going to have like plenty of other people like Steven Spielberg, who's probably going to talk smack about like Netflix on there with James Cameron as well.
Probably.
You got Nolan, you got George Lucas and Ridley Scott coming on here as well. But the Godfather comment, so that whole thing is like, oh, I need to figure out how I want to like continue this story, basically. What if I made Avatar a family-based drama like The Godfather? And it's just like, what are you doing with this series now? Like, do you even know what to do with the sequel at this point?
The other question too you got to ask too is like, okay, you're making these Avatar sequels that have taken way longer than anybody thought. You're really putting. I would even go as far as say you're kind of mortgaging Fox's future in a way too, with how much money and time they've invested in these things. Shouldn't you be not focused on a documentary series, but focused on these damn sequels?
Yeah, I'm like, oh wait, so you're gonna start this documentary series where you have all these guests coming on. That probably is gonna take a lot of time getting guests, making sure everybody's ready to come on the show, topics to talk about.
And Cameron's not gonna be the one handling all that, but I mean, Cameron's got industry connections. That's why people like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, and
Ridley Scott are able
to
come on.
They're not saying no to him. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's got a ton of connections and stuff. But I just find it completely odd though that you claim to be so involved with making these sequel movies. Then why haven't we seen one yet?
It's funny too because he keeps going on about this Godfather comment. He's like, it's a generational family saga. What if we we have a continuation of the same characters, but what if we look up at other warriors and other kids from those families and see their story. So I'm like, so are the Avatar sequels just going to abandon the characters from the first movie and just start over? Is this going to be like a soft reboot?
And again, this is another thing where it's like, this is a world and a species. Like, here's the funny thing. And this is why I keep harping on Avatar for not leaving a cultural footprint. And this is the same reason I think Mendelsohn is too. We are a culture. Dom has brought this up several times too when we talk Marvel. This is a culture of wikis, of fan forums and fan-run forums. People that cannot wait to immerse themselves in fictional worlds, fictitious worlds, create their own stories, involve themselves, find Easter eggs in these stories. Well, that I believe to be true. And Dom put that very much more eloquently than I just did. But it's a world of wikis. People love to immerse themselves in this. That's the case, then. People should be groveling for Avatar sequels. That's exactly what these movies are doing. Yeah. They're creating these fantastical worlds, but nobody cares. Nobody cares.
It's because it's taken too long.
It's taken too long.
Marvel knew, hey, we got to have this whole thing planned out. We have to have a roadmap to build to, this end goal. Yeah. We have to have a movie every year. Now they have, 3 movies a year now?
Yeah, and I understand, the perfectionist in James Cameron, he wants to protect the technology. And I also think some of the thrill has just been being a pioneer of some of this motion capture technology. It's a copycat industry. Of course, it's going to wind up taking off for years down the road. A decade from now, it'll probably be standard. But at the same time, too, let's be honest, I guarantee you right now, I could throw a stone at 10 different people, and I bet you I would be surprised if 3 could tell me what motion capture is. Okay, let's be real here. Like you would have to say Polar Express, Mars Needs Moms. You would have to see something like that in order for them to know what it is, what kind of style that is.
Ready Player One, the most recent example.
Ready Player One, absolutely. I was gonna say because everybody's talking about Mars Needs Moms, of course. No, but the vast majority of people don't give a rip about it. They don't. I mean, it's just a sad fact. But I would be very surprised because they're saying, Cameron's saying that we're going to get an Avatar sequel every year from 2020 to 2025. I would be surprised if we got past 3. I really do. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing. Could you not foresee, because he's supposedly shooting these back to back or somewhat sequentially. Here's the thing. Let's be honest. Avatar 2 comes out. Let's say it does okay. Like it breaks even maybe. Okay. Mm-hmm. At best. I think that's best case scenario. It breaks even. Good. Whatever. It breaks even. Well, then, don't you think James Cameron's going to want to try to make adjustments to Avatar 3? Don't you think he's going to want to do something differently that people didn't respond so well
that's
to?
the thing.
Is
He's
that going to be another 2-year delay?
I want these to be year after year. It's like, man, you're going to release Avatar 2. You're going to notice something you did wrong in post-production. You're going to try changing it in 3. 3 would be delayed. It'll be delayed a year, then a year, another year, and then we'll have the 11-year gap that we had between each sequel.
The guy will be in hospice care by the time.
We'll have to freeze him in order to like complete this whole like saga he wants to do that he's comparing to the Godfather stories.
At this point, it's just become a long-running joke. And again, like I just don't see an audience very excited to see these movies.
Oh, you know what'd be funny? They gave it to his ex-wife.
Oh, brutal.
Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, brutal.
Have her make the Avatar sequels.
Oh, that'd be funny. I mean, that was the big story when she beat him out for the Hurt Locker. Yeah, I don't know though. I have no clue how this is going to play out. I told you right now how I think best case scenario. I think this thing is going to break even because you got to think too. Maybe I'm remembering things wrong, but one of the main things, and this is why another thing that Mendelsohn got in trouble for was the way he said about Black Panther, how it was Black Panther was in some ways the industry's worst nightmare. And what he was saying about that was it wasn't for content purposes. He was saying that Black Panther came out and was so leggy and so successful long term that movies like A Wrinkle in Time and Tomb Raider underperformed because people were still going back and seeing Black Panther.
Yeah.
Now you could make that argument. Avatar came out in 2009. One of the reasons that it had such a successful run was that there really wasn't another big quote-unquote event movie until Alice in Wonderland in March of 2010.
It came out in December, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had January where movie studios just dump whatever product they want to release.
It had a good standing. But nowadays you're competing now. It's year-round movie season. Black Panther came out in February. Big movies are starting to come out in February now. So like you have that to worry about. You have a culture that's always waiting on the next big thing. So that's the thing now is Avatar 2, it's going to have more competition. And who knows, December 2020, Fox and Disney are now kind of, partners in a way. You want to think that maybe that there's a chance we could get some kind of Star Wars thing? I mean, it's not out of the question. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that there's a lot more competition now for something like this too. Marvel, you got to think of 2009. Marvel wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
It was out there. I mean, you had The Incredible Hulk, you know what I mean? You had
Iron
Man 1. You had movies, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like it is now. The saturation wasn't there. So I think there's a real concern, there's a real risk drop in something like Avatar 2 nowadays, especially years later. Very few people care. It's kind of looked upon with joke and ridicule now. You know what I mean? It really is. I mean, you talk about it in film circles, they dismiss it right away. But I'm glad you found that piece of news, though, because that is interesting.